Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves to watch people, but especially the people who watch people. It's Frank. How are you today?
I'm doing great, buddy. I've been watching a lot of watchers, doing a lot of people watching. People watching can be a lot of fun. I don't know if you've ever really dabbled in that as a pastime. Oh yeah, I guess I have. I guess I know that you have actually. I can think of it.
Yeah, you can think of a very specific example into which that I actually love people watching.
But it's a great pastime, and I've not done it in a long time. But gosh darn it, it can be fun.
I feel like I need to explain the example that
It's a good story.
Both had in our head, because it sounds creepy if I don't do this.
I guess that's true. Yeah,
I could leave it up to the people's imagination and just never reveal what happens.
I say give us the 30-second version.
30-second version. Around college and after college, for several years, a few friends of mine and myself, we would go to the airport around Christmas and do a Love Actually people watch, where we would just watch families reunited together at the international gate, as like people came home from study abroad and the military and whatever else. And it was beautiful every year. It was great. And we would just hang out, we get some food, check out the little stores inside the airport, whatever. But then we would just have some coffee or some tea and a croissant and chill and watch some people love each other, like families reunited. And it was awesome. It was great. It's like a great way to kick off the Christmas season. Just
such a wholesome activity to do with your friends in college. Like,
just remind people that people love each other. It's awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is so awesome. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Love that you guys did that.
Yeah, we did for a long time, actually. Really, I mean, like, one of the only reasons, like, we don't live none of us live in the same state anymore. And so, like, it's harder to gather.
Yeah.
Hilariously, we could gather at the airport, but it's not, what are you going to do?
That is kind of a funny idea of everyone flying in to
hang
out at the airport.
Yeah. Right? You don't have to go anywhere. The airport's got a lot of stuff.
It's true.
It's great.
Yeah.
What are you drinking for today's episode?
I'm drinking one that I've actually been kind of excited to pull out. It is from Rek-Lis Brewing Company, and it is now that's what I call Munich Helles Lager. Not now that's what I call music. It's for those listening and not watching.
Awesome.
It is a parody. The label is a parody of the Now That's What I Call Music CD covers.
Volume 43, featuring these people
Exactly.
I've definitely never heard of before, because it's volume 43.
Right, exactly. But it is from Rek-Lis Brewing. Rek-Lis is spelled Reklis. It's their Helles Lager. It's a 5.3 ABV. So it's a Pilsner. It is their Helles Lager that uses Vienna malt and Hallertauer Mittelfrüh, which I guess is a
Mittelfrüh to you too.
Yes, yeah. Bless you. Yes, I guess that's the what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
The malt.
Mittel vegetable. Oh,
we got the hops and got the malt. Yeah. So, yeah.
Very good. Really good.
I bought it pretty much because I love the label.
Yeah,
but it's a very good. Turns out it's a very good lager.
Excellent. I am drinking something. I don't know if it's over 500 episodes. I've definitely had this type of drink before on the show. I'm drinking a Mead
Oh yeah, you definitely have, but
yes.
not in a while.
No, because a good friend of mine came over and brought some, and there was some left over, so I saved it for the show. This is a Dansk Mjød. It is from Denmark.
Nice.
It's
right,
from Denmark.
Dansk. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
It is based on a recipe from about the year 1700, according to the bottle.
Wow.
Viking Blod.
Oh,
yeah, Blod. A Nordic honey wine with dried hibiscus and ginger added. It is a 19% ABV.
Whoa!
Yeah, so you only drink
Mead. I mean, mead like wine comes in much higher.
Correct. Exactly.
Right. Because it basically is wine.
I want to read the back though, because I do find it fascinating. When drinking mead, you are drinking 5,000 years of preserved history. Mead is one of the few things that allows us to get in touch with a time when life was lived on nature's terms. Our products are based upon a recipe from about the year 1700. The ingredients are pure and 100% natural, guaranteed free from additives. Honey is the major and most important ingredient in the recipe, free from gluten and lactose.
Nice.
Yeah. It's very good. I do recommend, but you can serve it chilled as an aperitif, room temperature as a dessert wine, or you could warm it up as a honey mulled wine.
Oh, sure.
I was going to do the warming, but I didn't have time. So I'm settled. So mine, I guess, is the aperitif because it was in the fridge.
Sure.
But okay. I just would like to do this on the microphone because we don't actually, because we crack, but we don't.
Yeah. Oh,
good, right?
That was beautiful.
That's a good one, right? It's like a really solid, good bottle.
Oh, it's got a thump, Mm-hmm. The Thump and Ring.
Truthfully, it's a little sweet for my tastes. Like really, actually, just in large quantities, small quantities, yes, but
mead in general is tends to be pretty sweet. So I'm like, cool.
I'm going to be awake for a while, right? That's like
right,
but not because of the alcohol, but because of the sugar.
The sugar, yeah,
now flowing through my veins.
Right, yeah, exactly. It is. It reminds me that my wife and I went to a meadery a couple of times that had like a tasting room.
I have also done that with the people I used to go to the airport with. Hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't remember if this was in Massachusetts or maybe it was in Maine. I'm going to see if I'm going to text her and see if she can remind me before the end of the show here.
Oh, mine was in New Hampshire. Hilariously enough.
Funny.
Yeah. I wonder if I have no idea what it was. So this was, I'm talking a decade ago, if not more.
Gotcha. Yeah.
More.
This is maybe slightly more than 5 years ago.
Okay. Well, yeah. See if we can find out by the end of the show.
Yeah.
Well, before we do that, while that occurs,
yes,
we will talk about the thing that we should have been talking about a while ago, and we haven't because Christmas and stuff. But a couple of weeks ago now, DC Studios dropped the second chapter in their Watchmen animated film series. 2 out of 2. And so Frank and I both watched it. If I recall correctly, you liked the first one, correct?
Loved the first one.
Yes, I loved the first one. I thought it was very well done. What did you think of this second? What did you think of the second one?
Similar. I loved the whole thing, start to finish. I think it is the best adaptation of this work that you could hope for.
Agreed.
And it was as faithful as I think you could reasonably be. The art style, though a little different than the comic, I thought was really, I really enjoyed it, and it brought a lot of life to the characters, and it's the only way I've been able to tolerate Tales of the Black Freighter.
We said that in the first one, but that's totally, it continued right through here.
Yeah. It just only way I've been able to digest that story. And they did it in a very, admittedly, they laid it all out there, right? Like interweaving the two stories together to show you like, hey, this is a symbol for this. But it it worked. It was the most effective telling of that I've ever experienced. So I was a big fan of this film, both parts of it, all 3 hours of it. And I'm really, really glad that they made it. I'm really, really glad I watched it. I feel like this is what I would point people to if they're like are interested in Watchmen, but may feel intimidated to read it. I would tell them to watch this.
I
would tell them to read it, but if failing that, this would be the thing I would tell them to watch.
I do agree with that. I think. I mean, I would always encourage people to read it because
absolutely,
it's not as intimidating as a book as it appears. Like it's like because every character is new for its audience, it does a really good job at letting you know who everybody is and taking its time with it. And so this second part I liked a lot. I do think that the first part is a little better, maybe because the first part of Watchmen is a little bit better. Or
I think that's kind of true. Yeah.
Not that the resolution of the story isn't good, but I think the second half, for being basically the same runtime as the first one, this one felt rushed to me, where the first one didn't.
Interesting.
Which is I found fascinating because it's not like they really added anything or even really took anything out. It's just that the pace of the story becomes a little bit more kinetic.
Yep.
The first half or first 2/3 of Watchmen, it was what they adapted in the first one, is not plotting, but it's a slow burn. And this last act that we watched is a much faster burn, like where it's heroes are donning their costumes again after a long time, some action sequences and whatever. But because you're now having action sequences, and now I feel like you're actually not sacrificing character work, but like you're missing out on some character
moments.
Like, not even that, because it's not even growth, because like the fact that they're even doing something in costume is actually character growth and character moments and whatever.
Sure.
But I can't put my finger on it exactly, but I really did like it. For years, I don't know how you feel about this, but for years I preferred Zack Snyder's version of making Dr. Manhattan the bad guy, or like not really the bad guy, but like pretending that he was the one, or for like framing him for being the one to destroy Manhattan. Spoilers for Watchmen, I guess. It was really refreshing to see the squid, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, in weird way, the impact of the squid meant more in this adaptation than on the page. Maybe just because of the way they filmed it, maybe the way it was colored and everything like that, or maybe just even like seeing it in movement, like it just felt a little bit more, I don't know, important and visceral, and like not an odd decision. Like I agree, like in some ways I agreed with Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' decision to do the giant squid, and so, and for Dr. Manhattan to really just be like, I hate all of you.
Yeah.
Like I was right. I came back, but that was wrong of me. Yeah. I need to go to the DC universe.
Right.
Yeah.
The Zack Snyder ending, it didn't ever really bother me all that much, to be honest with you. I think it's partly because I always found the squid kind of ridiculous and hard to wrap my head around.
Same, which is why I liked the Manhattan.
So I don't mind that. I don't mind that change. And it's also because I don't have the same. I read Watchmen to shortly before the movie came out, because I knew the movie was coming, and I wanted to have read it. But so I don't have like a real like connection to it from when I was much younger, like, or when I was first getting into comics, really. So I don't feel as precious about it, and so I don't mind the change. If I had more of a history with the book, maybe I'd feel differently. But I felt like, all right, if you were going to change it, this was a really good way to do it. But I liked seeing the like straight up, like, let's do it straight. I liked seeing the squid.
What I loved about the second half of this adaptation, that I think the live action film kind of missed the beat on is that there's what we talked about, the action sequences, but like they're not stylized. Here they're really straightforward, like some punches, some kicks, some this and whatever, but kind of like in a more realistic style. Than Snyder's film, but mostly their confrontation with Ozymandias at the end, like, you know, it's just a conversation.
It is,
you know, as we've talked about so many times,
time after time. Yes,
best superhero stories are the ones where they're just talking. Like, you know, you don't need to destroy anything.
Standing around in costumes talking.
Which really just comes down to, apparently, Frank and I just like costumes and people talking.
And talking, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So turns out the action sequences are secondary.
Turns out, yeah.
So I like that. That's where I like that they really took more to heart here, where they're like, it really is about the conversation. Like anybody that, like, if you're looking for realism in your superhero in any way, like the amount of action that would be done is actually fairly minimal overall. Like, think about like police officers and how much time is spent driving around as opposed to chasing around.
Yeah.
You know, or sitting in a parked car versus, you know, or calmly talking to people as opposed to high speed chases.
Sure.
You know, it just wouldn't actually, it's not actually it would be part of your everyday. So,
right. So why is the same not true for superheroes? Right.
And I just really like that they, Straczynski, especially as the writer, like really like pinned in on that particularly.
Yes, I love that. I do love that. Yeah, I had forgotten, between the release of parts 1 and 2, I had forgotten that Straczynski is the writer.
Me too. Until I saw his name in the credits, I was like,
yeah, same. Yeah. Watching the credits, the opening credits, was, oh yeah, that's right. That's who adapted this. Yeah.
Do you find how did you find the performances in this second half?
I mean, consistent, right? I think it was actually very well cast. And I found them to be, I found them to be consistent, but I did feel like, Night Owl was bringing it a little bit more in part 2 than he did in part 1.
I agree.
And but partly that's because Dan has,
right?
Yeah. Dan is more down in part 1, and part 2 is when his things are starting to come together for him.
Yep. Yeah.
With Laurie anyway.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think truthfully, I think Laurie was really the standout for me.
Yes. I think for the entire film. Like
arguably, yes. Yeah. I think she had the most layered performance in her voice through the course of the thing, but she's the one that arguably undergoes the biggest shifts because she has some pretty big revelations that she undergoes that are personal as opposed to story revelations.
Right.
Like, so like if every character's on a quest, and as superheroes, their quest is to save the world, right? I think I've talked about this before, right? Like the different parts of the quest, I'm pretty sure. So, but I want to go through it if this is your first time listening.
Yeah, of course.
Time you missed that episode.
Every episode is somebody's first episode.
Right. So, like, if basically every story is a quest narrative, and so you have your main character, the quester, and you have what their quest is, and why they're going on their quest, the challenges that they partake in on their quest to get to the end. But then at the end, whether they achieve it or not is fine, but it's what they discover about themselves makes the real story.
Yes.
And so like for Laurie, her quest is to like save the world, right? You know, eventually she gets there to claim her identity for herself. And so, but she doesn't even know that that's what she has to do until she becomes, the Silk Spectre again, and then only to have the world kind of topple around her with the revelation of who her father is and everything that Ozymandias does. Only then does she actually like become free of the person that she was. And that's her big self-discovery. Like, but that's, and so like anything like, you know, the police are outlying, or like the United States outlawing superheroes or being caught, or even Ozymandias and giant squids and the love triangle between Dr. Manhattan and her. That's all just trials and challenges.
Yes.
On her road to her self-discovery. but I think hers is the biggest one. And I think that I found it really clear here, and I don't find it as clear. It's been a while since I've read Watchmen, but actually didn't find it as clear in the novel, in the comic as I do here, and it's definitely not as good in the live action movie. So I found like a real good care was taken for this character who deserved more, and I was really I was really taken with all of it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that yes, I think that Straczynski did a really good job of laying out her story much more cohesively, and took you on that like sort of journey with her, on that quest with her, in a way that I don't know that the source material does. And yeah, I agree. I don't think Snyder did that either.
No, I think it's there in the material, obviously, because this is a really good adaptation of the material. But for whatever reason, it gets jumbled in with, I don't know if it's because it just gets jumbled in and kind of thrown together at the end, like, and maybe because she doesn't state her self-discovery in the same way.
I think it is because of that. She doesn't really have any. She doesn't have like a monologue or anything where she sort of like ties it up or wraps it up, right? Whereas like a lot of the other characters do. Certainly, Adrian does.
Do you have your copy of Watchmen handy? By any chance?
Yes, I do.
Because I was thinking that, like, because she says at the end, like, as they're like in their new identities, leaving her mom's condo and whatever, and she's like, oh, maybe I'll like come up with a new identity, like a new superhero identity with a new costume and whatever. And that all felt fresh to me. That none of that rung a bell from reading the book, and that's like, to me, that's really part of the self-discovery, and that's what really worked for me.
That makes sense. I do see, I'm looking at the last couple pages here, and I do see, Dan and Lori, walking away from her mom's house, where the whole, like, don't wait too long to have children. I'm an old woman. That's, they did that. Well, that's pretty painless, huh? Maybe that wasn't such a bad idea of your mother's. Again, they had cut that. Children, forget it. Not yet. You were talking about adventuring, and I'm not staying home changing diapers. Night Owl and Silk Spectre. Sounds neat. Silk Spectre's too girly, Plus, I want a better costume that protects me. Maybe something leather with a mask over my face. Also, maybe I ought to carry a gun.
So
that is pretty close to verbatim, if not
pretty close to
actually.
verbatim. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it gets lost on the. Maybe it's just because I haven't read it in a while. But,
it's been a while, right? Yeah, yeah. I had forgotten how direct, like them with their blonde, secret identities. I had forgotten just how perfectly that is ripped right out of the page, because I haven't read it in maybe not 10 years, but close. So yeah. There's a lot that I forgot, and actually flipping through it now, I'm like, yeah, wow, it is even more accurate than I remembered.
It's amazing how much of it actually has stayed in my brain, like watching it and be like, wow, that's the panel. Wow, that's the panel. Wow, that's the panel. And like, I couldn't tell you the last time I read it, really. I think I had definitely started maybe around the time that chapter 1 came out. I definitely had gone back, but I hadn't continued because I'm still trying to read weekly comics, baby. And
sure, yeah.
Go back to stuff you've read a couple of times when you barely have time to read the new stuff that's coming out.
Yes, exactly. You only got so much time, right? Yeah.
Right.
I just found, flipping through this, I'm so glad you asked me to pull out my copy of Watchmen, because flipping through it, smack dab in the middle of the book, I found my ticket stub from seeing the Snyder movie in 2009.
IMAX, 3:15 p.m. Wow, look at you.
Friday, March 13th. Friday the 13th, 3/13/09.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't remember that I had done that. I love that I did that. So yeah. I was like, oh, is that a bookmark? No, really.
That's very fun. Yeah. I recently found in a pocket, actually, the tickets to the first movie that my wife and I went to. It was our third date. And I found those tickets.
That's
in my
awesome.
pocket. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I really should clear my pockets out more. I guess.
Right. But now, like, put those somewhere, keep those somewhere.
Valentine's
special
gift, baby. And
Valentine's Day. There
I
you
can
go.
say that on the air because I know she doesn't listen to this. So I could say lots of things that I know will never get back to her.
There you go.
She hears me talk enough. She doesn't need to hear me talk to you.
Yeah, same. I think my wife feels similar. Like, listen, I listen to you chat about this stuff all day. Let's go talk to your friend for a minute, okay? Yeah, I'll see you later, hon. All right, love you.
Now, I do have a question. So, James Gunn has said that all animation, video games, TV, and movies are all part of the wider DC universe.
Sure.
Correct? Right?
He did, yes.
So does that mean that we're looking at a Superman like a DC Universe Doomsday Clock like thing eventually, whether it's animated or not?
It leaves the door open. It certainly leaves the door open to it.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely does. Whether that's what he, whether he was thinking about this when he said that, I don't know. Like, is this considered like, it's always been sort of its own sort of
its own thing,
its own timeline, its own reality
until Doomsday.
Yes, exactly. So like, with that one exception, it's always been considered that. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they choose to keep it that way. I wouldn't be surprised if they choose to keep it that way and then change their minds and do Doomsday Clock, or something inspired by it. So, that would be really cool. I think that'd be super cool if there was like a live action, take on it, or a TV series or something like that. And if they would use the same cast, to the degree that they could.
Right. Yeah, people who play them in animation play them in live action and vice versa.
That's what he said. Yep.
Yep.
That would be cool if they could make that happen to some degree.
Yeah, I think maybe it's somewhere in the back of brains, like somewhere like vaguely down the line, somewhere eventually. It's hard to say because we know the Justice League doesn't exist in this new coming DC universe. Like
yet
explicitly said, right?
Yet,
but I also don't think I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
I actually do agree with you. Yeah. I think they're going to make us wait for it,
which honestly I'm fine with.
I am too. I can see
cleanse the last one away so much that I forgot that it exists.
It's true. Yeah, you have to put that in. That has to be in the rear view. People have to sort of have forgotten about it. But also, like, you don't want to look too much like you're going straight for the Marvel playbook and like building up to the phase one sort of climax. You don't want to be seen as doing that. So maybe they look in a different direction.
No, I like this.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a bit. I think I'm going to like this. It's like Star Wars. Like, it's all in the same universe, but it's not necessarily everything doesn't have to link to every other particular thing.
Right.
There
Yes. Can be other stories
that have to link to the Mandalorian. They're their own things.
Correct.
Exist in the same Star Wars universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see the characters cross over.
Right. Honestly, just like comics. That's how comics work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
One thing can do its own thing while Superman is doing his own thing, and they don't have to talk to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just both there.
Yeah. And like, you can have it where it's like Superman and Green Lantern are having different things going on in their separate books, but then like in the Justice League title, they are together or doing
right.
Whatever, because like a different story at a different time, right?
Yeah,
like
right. Most stories take place over a couple of hours, if not a couple of days.
Right.
Like, even though it takes 6 months or whatever to get that story completed in a comic, most of the time it's like, well, that was a really long day.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, they have the time, So I'll let them have the time. But
yeah.
But
exactly.
Frank, I'm glad that we both enjoyed Watchmen Chapter 2.
Yeah. So much fun. If you wanted to hear our part 1 review, I'll put a link in the show notes. That was back in episode 507 last September. So you can check that out. beerwithgeeks.com/507. That's also where you can go to get our all the show notes, but you can find links to subscribe to us in any podcast app that you like. You can find the links to contact us at places like beerwithgeeks@gmail.com, and you can, of course, click through to Patreon to help support us, help us to keep making the show. That's patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio.
Frank, a pleasure to chat with you as always. So until next time, cheers.
Cheers.